Hey everyone, Vulgar is here. Today I'm going to show you guys my color correction settings in Sony Vegas and Adobe After Effects. I'm sorry if I'm talking fast, it's because I want to make this video be short and simple. So if you have any questions, comment in the comments below. You can subscribe, and yeah, I'll answer your questions. If you guys have any requests for tutorials, I can do those too. What you want to first do is drag your clip in Vegas. You want to go to HSL Adjust, Hue Saturation and Luminance Adjustments. Now you want to go to Max Saturation, and you're going to drag it. And as you notice, keep this in mind, it only goes up to 2, okay? Which is basically like saying it's 200%. Add to Hue, don't mess with that, that's just going to add colors to the hue, it's pretty self-explanatory. Saturation, if you drag this down, it's going to desaturate it to 0, it's going to make it black and white. If you drag it up to 1, it is going to put it back to default, and if you put it to 2, it's gonna basically double. I don't know how you say this, but basically it's just making the colors, it's basically bringing the colors out. Luminance, we're gonna actually use this. Sometimes you might want to, sometimes you might want to not use it. The reason is because it can look bad in some clips. It's really your judgment whether you want to use it or not. Luminance is basically if you did a lot of color correction and you have a lot of effects, if your clip's looking dark, you can use luminance to make it brighter. And it makes, as you see right here, just show you an example. Right here, the clip, what is it, the rock is white. If you drag luminance up, it's going to make it glow. It's not just going to make it brighter, it's going to make it glow, and that's key when you're using luminance. We're going to put this at 1.25, and we're going to move on. So, saturation, you're probably going to want to mess with a little bit. There's there's pros and cons of using saturation in Vegas. And towards the end of this Vegas portion of it, I'll show you some bad things. But now what we're going to do is we're going to add contrast to it by going to levels, and you can do reset to none or darken, whatever. I'm just going to add darken. Make sure input start is set to 0. Just to explain it to you, gamma, first off, it's going to make the whole entire clip bright, or it's going to make the whole entire clip dark. That depends really on what you want. It's also used in case, your contrast is dark, you want to make the clip be more brighter. You can mess with gamma, but by default it's always 1, so keep that in mind. Input start is going to make the darks dark, and input end is going to make the lights light. Okay, so what I'm going to do for this clip, and this is going to be different for each clip, map, game, even depending on the HDPVR you use or the dazzle, it might be different. So what you're going to do is you're going to drag input start. I'm going to keep it at about 200, and I'm going to input end, let's see, around 800 or so. And I'm just going to keep it like right here. You might want to change things up. You might want to add keyframes. This is just basic color correction. If you have any questions on how to use keyframes, comment or PM me, and I'll thoroughly explain it to my best ability, because this isn't easy if you've never used Vegas before. But that's basically it. This is basically what we have. The only bad thing about doing it in Vegas, or really with any type of color correction software, the bad thing about it is that in specific parts, for example, like right here, right there, the whole entire clip is red, and that's because there's blood in the screen. Now, generally, this is what the clip would look like without the color correction. This is what the clip looks like with it. In certain situations, say your screen's all red, but you get a collateral or a triple, adding color correction could prevent you from actually seeing that. So you want to mess with it until you find some saturation and some levels that you like. But I'm just gonna keep it like this, just to show you. This is what the clip looks like with color correction in Vegas, and this is what it looks like without color correction in Vegas. So there's a pretty big difference. I would much rather use this clip. Especially like for right here. This looks really good. It looks nice and bright. I'll just show you. Nice and bright. You can easily see everything. Maybe some of the bright parts are too bright, but whatever. And this is not. So it's up to you what you want to use. Now I'm going to delete my clip, my clip with color correction, and I'm going to then drag right above the timeline, right here, until this highlights blue, and there's 2 little yellow arrows around it. That's called a loop region. Now you're going to either hit this button right here or go File, Render As, and you're going to want to make sure you check off Render Loop Region Only. If you don't do that, it's going to render the whole entire project, and for this you only want to render a loop region. So I'm going to render it as tutorial 2 because I already did tutorial 1 and I messed up and I didn't delete it. But tutorial 2, render the loop region only. And now I'm going to show you guys how you can do it in After Effects. Now there's a few ways to do it in After Effects. Just let me get something to drink. Alright, this is taking a while to render, but it should be done in a second. Probably because I'm recording. It's taking a while. Alright, now that we're done rendering, we're going to go into After Effects. File, Imports, File. Where is that clip? Tutorial 2. Okay. Now we're going to drag this clip to our stage, and we're back with the plain regular gray clip. Okay. Just to show you really quickly, I don't use this a lot, so I can't really tell you my personal opinion on it. But if you don't have any plugins, you can go to Effects, Color Correction, and then Auto Color is basically going to be... I think I did something wrong. I'm not really sure. You have to really mess with it. But if you don't have any specific type of color correction software or plugins, definitely you can get some pretty good color correction by using the color correction tab in After Effects. Auto contrast and auto levels, it's basically the same thing as it was in Vegas. It's just different editing software. Color curves, color balance, color mixer, change to color, CC toner, brightness and contrast. This is basically, let me mess with this a little bit. Again, I want to make this tutorial short, but see brightness, and this is going to add contrast to it. So you might want to use something like this, and drag this down, drag the contrast down, and then you might want to add some color correction, but I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to now delete the effects. This is a video showing my color correction. You know, you could use something completely different, and these are by far, I mean, there's a lot of methods of color correction. There's magic bullet looks, but I found this to be my favorite method. If you go to Effect, what is it? Synthetic Aperture SA Color Finesse 3. If you don't have this, it's because it's a plugin. You have to download it. And I have made my own presets. In fact, I use this for what montage? For the montage trailer. That's what it was. Red Bull, drinking Red Bull. I used SA Color Finesse 3. What you're going to do is I'm just going to save my clip in case... Oh, it's already saved. Okay. I'm going to click on Full Interface right here. If you don't have this, it should be under here somewhere. Just click on Full Interface. Okay, and now you have basically a whole nother program that's opening up. Basically, this has all the settings that Vegas had, except they're all in one effect. And I find this to be quite helpful, especially because you can just edit it all at once. And yes, so hue, again, you don't want to mess with it. Saturation, you can put this up to 300. Okay, so as opposed to, 0, as in Vegas you can only put up to 200. This goes up to 300. So it gives you more variation of what you want your clips to look like. I'm going to keep it at around 200 just to try to replicate the effects we got in Vegas. Vibrance, is this? You can mess with this. This is making it pretty yellow. That's what color correction will do sometimes. It'll make your clip yellow. And the object is to try to make it look brighter, to bring some parts out. Again, this all depends on the map, because what map did I use it on before that looked pretty good on? Actually, it was jungle. Never mind. Because depending on what settings you're using and depending on what you like, you can make this clip a whole lot different. And contrast, this is basically equivalent to levels. Make the darks dark and the lights light. And contrast center, contrast center is going to center the contrast differently, make different, as you see, this will make it lighter, this will make it darker. And you want to mess with these until you get something you like. I'm sorry I'm not really much of a help as far as like what numbers to use. If you want, this is going to be in HD, you can just copy the numbers if you can't see them. Hue 0, saturation is 202.04, vibrance is 56.73, brightness is 2.04, contrast is 37.96, contrast center is 0.58, RGB gain, it's 1, I didn't really mess with that, gamma is 1.22, and pedestal, you can set that to 0, it doesn't matter. So yeah, you can just keep this if you want. I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to bring the vibrance down so it's not as yellow. And yeah, this is basically it. That was a pretty big difference, just to show you. I'm going to keep this. Again, I used AAE Color Finish 3. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. And this is what I use for mostly all my color correction. So that's basically it. I'm just going to render this out, and I'm probably going to end up fast forwarding through it. And yeah, that's basically it. So there's a pretty huge difference. If you like this video, please comment and subscribe. If you want to learn more, definitely request tutorials. If you want to see montages, if you know, basically anything. If you like this video, definitely subscribe. I appreciate it. Thanks guys, it's Volgers here.